It's basketball season, but it's a secret. West Virginia supposedly dominated a secret scrimmage against a top 5 ACC team this weekend. Let's talk about that. This is Locked On West Virginia.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. You've landed here again at Locked On West Virginia, your place for Mountaineer news, basketball, football, what have you. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen of every single day or your last, and for making yourself a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day. Brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, and that's guaranteed. But you have to first visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, if you didn't know, now you know. West Virginia basketball played a secret scrimmage against Wake Forest over the weekend, and just to get it out there, let me look it up really quick to make sure. What's the ACC preseason poll in basketball? Okay, so there we go. In a power ranking, we'll go with that, since it's the quickest thing I could find. So they've got 18 teams in the league now, which is unbelievable to even consider. Okay, let's go. So Wake Forest is number 4 in this power ranking. They were preseason number 3. Let's see what this says about them really quick. Last season was a similar campaign in this Coach Steve Forbes era. He finds a couple of breakout transfers and finishes in the top half of the ACC basketball standings before ultimately missing the cut for the big dance. A couple of starters elected to enter the transfer portal in the offseason, including guard Kevin Miller and forward Andrew Carr, who were both double-digit scorers. But the guy who stuck around leaped the internet for the NBA, Hunter Salas, who averaged 18 on 41% shooting from three-point range, and Louisville transfer Ty Lahr, who averaged 8 and 3, could be one of the better backcourt duos in the league. The other starters back are Cameron Hildreth, 13 points, 8 points per game, and Efton Reed, who will be around for an entire season after dealing with eligibility issues the year before. Joining Reed in the front court are a trio of transfers: Trayvon Spillers, who averaged 12.8 points per game and 9 rebounds per game, pretty much, 6'7" for Appalachian State, while DePaul transferred Churchill Abbas provides backup at the center spot. Key guy to watch is Omaha Billieu, who with West Virginia ran out a little bit, not too hard, former 5-star prospect who comes in over from Iowa State. Add a top 40 prospect and Alabama transfer Davin Crosby, and you have multiple breakout candidates to watch for the Demon Deacons. With proven talent they already have, this team has one of the highest ceilings in all of ACC basketball, and West Virginia wiped the floor with them boys in the second half over the weekend. Promise you they did. West Virginia won this game by double digits. Now, look, before we go any further, I've been told by multiple people already, remember, you come here because I'm a fan, correct? I'm not a journalist. Don't claim to be a journalist. I might sometimes act and talk like one, but I'm not one. And so at the end of the day, I'm as excited as you are to hear this stuff, right? And so sometimes I take it out of context. My point is, we're not supposed to read very much into this. And as coaches, as players, they probably don't. They're taking this with a grain of salt. You know, in February, if West Virginia plays Wake Forest, maybe they lose by 20. I don't know. But what I do know tonight is West Virginia won that game, and they won it handily, especially in the second half. Let me get over here to my X profile where I have a thing saved. It's from a VIP on the Wake Forest board that somebody sent to me. And it said this. Gosh, that's really hard for me to see. Still don't have a score, but have been told by 2 different sources, WVU 1, positives from it, and this is from the Wake Forest point of view, not from West Virginia's point of view, but you can reverse it in your head. Held WVU to 40% from the field, held WVU to 22% from three. Wake Forest shot 17 of 20 from the free throw line, and big improvement from the Bama game lowlights. Struggled to score, was just basically out-physicaled by West Virginia, and bothered Wake a lot in the half court. So West Virginia's half court defense played at a pretty high level. They shot the ball poorly from the field because of that half court defense at 36%. Shot the ball poorly from three at 26%, and turned the ball over way too much for anyone's liking. Only 2 of them were from Hunter, so going to be an ineffective bench. So I'm guessing that's something he had. West Virginia out-rebounded them by 2. And Salas was held to 13 points. Spillers held to 13 points and 7 rebounds, and Cam had 12 points. So I was also told by another source that Toby O'Connie, Tucker DeVries, and Javon Small were your top 3 scorers in this game. Not a surprise. Don't take a lot of this for 100% truth, but these are things that are tough to get answers to the questions on. But we do know for sure that West Virginia won the game, and we do know for sure that West Virginia pretty much coasted in the second half in a lot of ways, and really out-physicaled this team. Sincere Harris locked up what some would consider possibly to be a top 2 or 3 guard in the ACC to 13 points. Now, there's the other side of this is it's, teams are trying to win. Let me see what – I had a text message from somebody. I messaged a coach and asked him, hey, what's it like this time of year? Are teams trying to win? What the heck's going on, So it's October. Nobody is nearly what they're going to be in January or March. It takes time to build chemistry, rotations, etc. People are still competing for minutes, and it takes time. These scrimmages and exhibitions are great for coaches because it gives us a lot of material to show guys, etc. But in no way does it mean anything. That's from a coach. So can't say who. But so point being, from our perspective, we can fantasize and dream about what this team could look like. And from a coach's perspective, not real happy about it, right? Even though they won. So I think it's the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think this is a good West Virginia basketball team. I do. I've seen enough out of them to where I think they're going to be good. I don't know how good. I can't tell if they're going to be a top 8 Big 12 team or a little lower. But that's, I think they're on the tournament edge in my guess because I believe in Darren DeVries, especially as a coach. You can see this West Virginia team, just based on the one game that we've all saw, was way more tightened up than any Bob Huggins team that I can remember. Bob Huggins teams don't play anything like Darren DeVries teams. They have similarity in some of the physicality, but if you're talking about spacing, if you're talking about running, shoot, I should have just turned it down when I had it in my hand. And as somebody said the other day, it wouldn't be an episode if your phone wasn't going off. And to those listening on podcast, I apologize. But obviously these are 2 different style coaches, and it's going to be interesting to see a West Virginia team that is a lot more fluent, a lot more it's like the difference between watching somebody who runs two trap every day on offense in football, where you're lining up in the eye and you're just smashing people in the face, and all of a sudden you watch a team that runs the triple option and you see all this movement and all this motion, or maybe it's Andy Kotelnicki and there's all this movement and all this motion, and you're trying, it's so beautiful looking because it's chess. And that's kind of what Darren DeVries runs. And Bob Huggins is in the face. They both work. They're just kind of different. So that's at least my interpretation. I'm sure some coaches and others may disagree with that, but That's kind of how I see it. So kind of fun, kind of fun. Um, a lot to get to, really. I think we got to talk about some other things, but I'll go a little bit more on basketball. But next, the major topic up next, guys, is coming down the stretch. Could West Virginia, could Neil Brown somehow, some way coach himself back into the job and possibly to another eight win regular season? And then if he does, how the hell does West Virginia get rid of him if he does that? I think it's a fair question. We talk about that next. This is Locked On West Virginia. Hey, NFL fans. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and that's all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And as West Virginia is on a bye week, no spread to get to. So here we are. West Virginia basketball played in secret scrimmage. They beat what most consider a borderline ranked team today or yesterday. I can't remember when the scrimmage happened. It happened, I think it may have been today, but it could have been yesterday. I haven't looked. So that happened this weekend, and they look good doing it at times. I was also told that Amani Hansberry is flowing well in this offense. He looks to be, if we're talking about breakout guys, somebody that could really break out as an all Big 12 performer this year, Amani Hansberry is the guy to look at. Toby Okani probably has the most upside of anybody on the team. These are things most of us already know, but I think it's important to reiterate some of them. And Sincere Harris is the true wild card, the player that could end up being the best player on the team if he gets his offense to a level to where, let's say, he gets it to 60% of what his defense is. His defense, he could be this is not a lie. This is not an exaggeration. I think he's got Javon Carter type defensive potential, who was a back-to-back Big 12 and National Defensive Player of the Year at one point in time. So we're talking about big-time stuff at the guard spot. Typically, those spots are reserved for wing and centers. Rarely do you see a guard like Javon Carter, but he played in Press, Virginia. I don't think that it's going to be set up for him to win any award, but I do think he could have that kind of impact. Go look at the Illinois tape. It happened over and over and over and over and over and over again. He actually impacted the game in a severe way from the guard spot, getting his hands in passing lanes, making things difficult in the half court. He's going to be our ace. And then you add a guy like Toby Okani, who's in a pretty good, dang on good wing defender in his own right. And it's going to get interesting on defense for this team. I think that could be their really good calling card for them. This team's going to be a really solid defensive team, I think, and a good offensive team. All right. Daniel Sargent. Yep, that's correct. Will not just schedule a regular season game. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so and they are picked to finish high in the ACC this year. Somebody mentioned in the comments, if you're listening on podcasts, that Wake Forest is picked to finish high in the ACC this year. They are. I read a thing earlier. If there's some of you guys are just getting in here, I'll read the highlights of this one more time. They were picked top 3 in the preseason poll, and in this ranking called Busting Brackets, they were ranked 4th in the power ranking. Remember, Steve Forbes is the guy a lot of West Virginia fans wanted as a coach. Don't forget that. I think we got the better coach in there, Darren DeVries, absolutely, and I think it'll be proven over time. but they have a bunch of transfers on the team. They've got maybe the best guard in the ACC, definitely in the conversation in Hunter Salas, who averaged 18 a game, 41% from three last year. Ty Lauer averaged 8 and 3 last year. He's their other guard and gives them really good backcourt. Cam Hildreth, who had 12 in the scrimmage, and Epton Reed, who's their big center, is somebody they're expecting a lot from. Trayvon Spillers averaged 12 and 8. He's from Appalachian State, and we know they had a pretty good team. DePaul transfer Churchill Abbas is the backup center, and then the key guy to watch for them is Omaha Billieu, which is a 5-star Iowa State transfer out of high school. Top 40 prospect Alabama transfer Davin Crosby is another candidate they say to watch. So they had a ton of talent coming in. And just like the coach, I read a text message from a coach that I got earlier. Listen, Wake Forest has so much talent. There's no way they've unlocked it this early in the year, obviously. So I think it's important to point that out, that Wake Forest, while they've got a ton of ability and stuff, they're probably by March they could be a much better team than us, or we could be much better than them still. It doesn't. I don't know. I'm just guessing based on how what I've seen from Darren DeVries, and all you got to do is, if you want to see Darren DeVries coaching in action, get on Google right now and type in Darren DeVries coaching tape, and some videos will pop up of him, and it's literally him coaching like different drills and stuff, and you can just listen to what he says in them and how detailed he is. I'm talking about down to, you know how when a receiver runs a route, they at a certain marker, they've got to break it off, they got to do certain things, and there's a lot of technicality to it. Similar to Darren DeVries, that he has a lot of that going on. So he's very technical in the way he teaches the game, and I love that because it gives me stuff to talk about. I love talking about it. It's just like John Gruden's play calls in the NFL. Anytime somebody would say football players were dumb, because if you'll remember, especially when I was growing up, like you could watch cartoons, if you watch the movie Beetlejuice, football players are always considered to be or portrayed as dumb jocks. And they're really not, especially in football and basketball, in my opinion. You have to be smart to play both in different ways, especially quarterback, though. So anytime I can find a John Gruden play call, which is like, some of them get up to 9-10 seconds long, just ridiculous long play calls. I like to show people those. If you ever looked up a John Gruden play call, just type in John Gruden play call. They're literally like so long. It's crazy. So really quick, I'll get into this now and finish it on the other side of the break. I think something I brought up on the show last night that I want to get into. We're in a bye week on football, and let me just pull this up really quick so I had it at the ready. This team's definitely injured, and I think they need the rest worse than even in the first. I think they need this bye week worse than the first one, and it's going to be interesting to see how they recover the next week and a half, and see who gets healthy. Don't know if there was any head injuries, but I know there were some upper body injuries, and it's all kind of strange. Like, we're going to need Wyatt Milam down the stretch. I think that was evident in the run game yesterday, especially. The continuity of the offensive line was just a little bit off. I felt at times in the run game. Teams have run on Arizona this year, and we just haven't been able to break many explosives. Like we did one yesterday. There haven't been many of those for us this year, and last year there were just so many. It's weird, guys. Last year we won 5 of 6 down the stretch. Schedule or not, we did. And if you look at Neil Brown's history at West Virginia, last year wasn't the first time that's happened. It's actually the second time that I can remember that it's happened under Neil Brown that a West Virginia team has won 4 of 6 or 5 of 6 down the stretch. Don't be surprised if this team gets better real at the end of the year again and they go on a run. I would say 30 to 40% of that is going to be schedule. The rest of it is they're just going to get better because the more information that comes in, I believe, Neil Brown uses analytics, and so does Jordan Leslie. And I think those numbers that come in make some of the calls they make better because they use a lot of the numbers to dictate what they call and when they call it. They're big on tendencies, they're big on tendency breakers, and they're big on analytics. And not every coach is like that, but our coaches are. And as information and data comes in, you find out what teams are. Can't hide from it this late in the year. Just like this West Virginia team with Garrett Green in the game is a team that's efficient running the ball. They're not explosive running the ball, that struggles to pass the ball down the field and be accurate with the ball. Like, those are pretty simple things, but that's what West Virginia is at this point in time. With Nico Marchiol, that changed. They became a high-efficiency passing team that was still pretty efficient in the run game. And I think I question Neil Brown's decision-making. If Garrett Green's fully healthy, then okay, I'm okay with it. But if he's not healthy at all, you can't tell me he's the better choice at quarterback. And I really do believe that if you want me to swallow next year with Neil Brown, I got to have something to look forward to. And I don't know how many of you guys are on this boat with me. Two things need to be true out of this scenario. Either one, I need to see Nico down the stretch keep performing like he did yesterday so we can all get excited about him next year, and that'll be something we can all agree on to be excited about. Or we find out he's not, and we can get a transfer quarterback in, or maybe Ryder Burton's the answer. I don't know, because we need to figure that out if Neil Brown's going to stay coach. At some point, I'm going to have to quit asking for him to be fired every week if they continue to win. And I'm not saying they are. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, we're going to put a bow on that and kind of go down that road. Can West Virginia win out, and will we be possibly forced to watch Neil Brown another year? Make a lot of people unhappy. This is Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you in part by Game Time. That's right, Game Time. Game Time picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. It's a super deal. Seat views before you buy if you want that. And there's a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, job loss protection, etc. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. There's a lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, which makes it the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create the account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. So download the Game app today and ask yourself, what time is it? It's game time. All right. We are back on Locked On West Virginia, talking about Neil Brown, talking about this West Virginia football team, and what if, just like last week, it was what if West Virginia beats Kansas State, puts himself in the picture for the championship. What if West Virginia can win out? And it's not so far-fetched. Cincinnati got beat by Colorado, and although I think they're a pretty good team, I think they can certainly beat us. It would actually be a good win for Neil Brown if we win on the road at Cincinnati. I will say. It might be his best win of the year, sadly, if he wins that game. Then you've got Baylor, who beat Oklahoma State, who has gotten better since we played them, and then put 60 up on Texas Tech the week before. So we're talking about an offense that can absolutely just can we stop them? We got that game at home, thank God. UCF, who absolutely torched Iowa State and has, listen, I thought they were pretty bad. I still think they're bad, but can they beat us? Yeah, in a given game, they could beat us. And then Texas Tech. No, Texas Tech, the team that had the streak against us until last year, right? We hadn't really been very good against Joe McGuire and the Red Raiders. Well, we go on the road to end the year there. Could West Virginia inch back into the Big 12 picture at that point in time with only 2 losses in conference? Maybe. And so if Neil Brown's able to do all that and beat, I would say, 2 good teams, Cincinnati and Texas Tech are good. They both won 5 games. That's not bad. And then Baylor and UCF, who are average or below average. I would say Baylor's below average. UCF's probably below average too. I wouldn't consider them really, really bad teams either because they all have talent. Like, I mean, I love the running back at UCF. I think he's a really good player. So I'm never going to say that they're just absolutely terrible. I mean, they put up numbers on Iowa State and UCF or BYU in back-to-back weeks. And when you look at what they've done from a stats perspective, it's been good on offense, especially. And they've got a backup quarterback. They got a couple quarterbacks that are playing okay right now, especially Brown and Rizek. But R.J. Harvey is a machine. 130 yards against BYU. Against Iowa State, he went for 200 yards. So obviously, and in my opinion, he is one of the most explosive backs in the league. No doubt about it. They forced Drago back into 2 picks. Like, they almost beat them boys at Iowa State. Probably should have beat them. So I'll just say, while West Virginia can win out, I don't know if it's going to be harder than it looks on the surface. And here's where the catch-22 is, in my opinion. If West Virginia wins out, it's going to be against teams that on paper look bad but are much tougher than they actually are. And people are going to reflect on these games and say, well, look who they beat. They all sucked. But when you look at UCF and Baylor, especially the last couple of weeks, they've gotten a lot better, even in losing efforts for UCF. I mean, they really should have beat Iowa State and put a lot up on BYU, those are 2 undefeated squads. I mean, they're just hard to beat right now. So I think it's fair to ask. So if Neil Brown can go undefeated down the stretch, while I'll never forget 3-17, and I'll never forget 0-8 in a row to ranked teams, and I'm never going to forget not being ranked in the AP, it'll go a long way towards helping me get over some of that if they can win out. But there can be no more losses this year, and I'm going to be watching like a hawk for pretty much everything. I was so negative I listened to my episode yesterday. I was so negative after the win that I was mad at myself yesterday. I felt like maybe I went too hard on the team. I don't know. It's something I'm struggling with it. And I don't know what to do as a content creator because I love West Virginia so much. I want us to win so bad, but I also want us to get a new coach. So it's like that constant struggle with, I know in the back of my mind it would be good for that part of my brain if we lost, but it can never supersede the part of my brain that wants the players to do good and, some of the coaches too. So I don't know what to do. It's a constant battle. So that's just basically it. It's going to be interesting to see what West Virginia does down the stretch, guys. It's going to be really interesting. I don't even know the Drum Wolf because we had a comment that said they get ranked if they go undefeated. I don't even know then. We did it last year. Remember, we won 5 out of 6 and still weren't ranked at the end of the year after North Carolina. I think we got the coaches poll. So that was after the year we were picked last, though. So maybe teams, I don't know, maybe people would respect us a little more then. I don't know. But time will tell, guys. It's going to be a long couple weeks. Stick around here for me here at Locked On West Virginia. We'll continue to do this stuff. I've got some interesting topics for next week. So I'm going to have a couple guests on, and we'll make a week out of it. Until then, guys, thank you for joining me. It's been fun. Don't have much else to talk about tonight, so proud of the Mountaineers for winning the secret scrimmage, and proud of you guys for joining me. We'll talk tomorrow. Until then, this episode's over, and I'm out.